This is NBC 22 News at 11.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Mark Pompilio.
And I'm Michelle Kingsfield. Looks like we'll stay above the freezing mark tonight. Tom Burse has our first forecast.
Yeah, there may be a little frost on the pumpkin if you've got one, but we're still above freezing at about 35 overnight tonight with mostly clear skies. Plenty of sunshine tomorrow and about 60 degrees. Really not a bad day. It looks like sunshine will be returning, sticking around. Little frost overnight tonight and a pretty decent looking 5-day planner. That's all coming up.
Now on 22, the message tonight from Beaver Creek school officials is simple. Pass an emergency levy in November or get ready for major cuts.
Tonight, parents learned how critical the situation is and how deep the cuts will be. NBC 22's Susan Cooper joins us now with the latest. Susan, many upset parents there tonight.
Well, Mark, many seem frustrated at the position they now feel the board has forced them into, shelling out more cash to dig out from a multi-million-dollar deficit due to an error by the former treasurer.
$4 million.
A couple dozen parents gathered at Shaw Elementary School tonight to hear firsthand how their children's education may be affected.
The longer you let a deficit grow, the more dollars it takes to fill the hole.
Administrators say drastic cuts in staff will be made, which in turn will mean crowded classrooms and limited courses. The reason the passing of the levy is necessary, as we've been reporting for months, is that the district has a projected $4 million deficit for next year. While many parents are angry, they have different ideas how to solve the problem.
Don't punish the kids. Don't shoot yourself in the foot, okay? Your property values will go in the dumpster if we start doing this.
They're asking for money because they goofed. And if I was to goof on my own checking account, I can't go to my boss and say, hey, I need a pay raise because I goofed. I have to suffer the consequences and learn how not to spend money where it's not needed.
Parents aren't the only ones who express their disappointment to the board.
We cannot go to my General Motors pension plan and say, I need an increase. It's just not there. You learn to live on your annual income, no matter what it is.
The board apologized to the crowd and asked the folks not to take their anger with them out on the students.
Please consider what it's going to do to this community if it fails.
Now the district already has an operating levy through next year, and officials say it is the combined monies from both levies that would yank the district out of debt. It would mean an additional $264 just for next year, which would mean an average homeowner would pay about $505 in 2001. Mark?
Okay, thank you, Susan. The next community forum will be Wednesday at Parkwood Elementary.
Well, Wagamon Elementary in Dayton is working with Think TV to help parents become better teachers for their children. Tonight was the second of 6 reading and math workshops. Various learning centers were set up around the school to help the parents and kids work together as a team. Tina Spalding is the Ready to Learn coordinator from Think TV. She says the key is being a good teacher. The key to being a good teacher is making it fun for everyone.
We try to make it a fun evening for the parents. We try to give them ideas to make reading fun so they're not just reading story after story, but they can include activities that go with it.
The workshops are held every Monday evening from 6 until 8 in the school's media room.
Still no word on the identity of the driver who died today when his car crashed into a tree. The accident happened just before noon on Fairbanks Avenue at the intersection of Creasmore in Dayton. Police say the car flew through the air, hit a tree, and landed upside down. They say speed was a factor in the accident. And police believe speed and alcohol caused the crash that killed a Waynesville man. 23-year-old Mark Davidson died instantly when he crashed his Chevy Blazer into a telephone pole. It happened along Lytle 5 Points Road early this morning. Emergency crews had to cut the passenger in the car from the wreck. He is listed in fair condition tonight.
An ultimatum to end the violence in the streets to Palestine has been extended by Israeli officials for an unspecified amount of time. Israel had demanded Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat restore order by sundown, or the peace talks would be dead and Israel would respond forcefully. But U.S. officials say there is no sign Arafat has acted. Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak says he wants to see how the situation develops before closing the door to further negotiations. Well, Miami Valley Jews and Arabs are hopeful the fighting and bloodshed in the Middle East will come to an end.
But an expert at Wright State University predicts a lot has to happen before the peace process can get back on track. She says many fear the region is marching to war.
and the Israelis. I'm very pessimistic that you and I are going to see any near-term settlement about Jerusalem. I think that's something years and years down the road. And even making difficult progress towards sharing Jerusalem is a very big challenge, because it's very difficult to share something you treasure so much if there's so little trust in the relationship.
Meanwhile, Democratic vice presidential candidate Joseph Lieberman may have a personal connection to the latest violence. A Jewish settler found dead in the West Bank may be related to the senator. His campaign has asked the State Department to find out.
Well, keeping its promise, the European Union lifted its oil embargo and other sanctions against the newly democratic Yugoslavia. The promise was made to the Serbian people last week that if Slobodan Milosevic was ousted in last month's presidential election, the move would be made. The European Union also lifted a ban on commercial flights to and from Yugoslavia and eased financial restrictions on Serb companies. 2 people died when a small plane crashed while trying to make an emergency landing.
We begin our look at America's headlines in Phoenix. The plane dove nose first into the ground, then burst into flames. On the way down, it sheared off the top of a power pole. The 2 people on board died instantly. Investigators don't know yet what caused the accident.
A 6-week-old baby girl was killed after being left alone with a dog. According to California police, a relative left the newborn for only a moment. When he returned, the small Pomeranian had the infant's head in its mouth. The relative has not been charged. Animal control officers say Pomeranian attacks are rare.
Health officials in Detroit, Michigan are trying to calm parents' fears after 3 kids in the area died from bacterial meningitis. The bacteria causes inflammation in the brain and spinal cord. Major symptoms include a persistent headache, stiff neck, back pain, and light sensitivity. Health officials say the disease isn't casually contagious and that the schools are safe. Even so, many parents are keeping their kids at home.
There's no relief in sight for firefighters working hard to contain a blaze at a glass plant in Clarksburg, West Virginia. Fire officials say bales of paper stacked 2 stories high could keep the fire burning for several days. More than 40 firefighters were needed to keep the blaze from spreading. So far, there have been no reports of injuries. Officials are calling the fire suspicious.
The Georgia girl who was suspended for carrying a Tweety Bird keychain to school was back in class today, but at a private school. The Cobb County School District suspended Ashley Smith for 10 days, saying the keychain was considered a weapon. After hearing the story, an Atlanta radio show host offered to help pay the $7,500 school tuition. Well, still to come, a local restaurant chain shows it has a big heart with a fundraiser that depends on some big appetites.
But first, the Salem Mall lowers the boom on the old Lazarus store to make room for progress.
My wife had this child while we were still married, but it was another man's child.
Why the stepdad refused to pay support.
Is the child totally unknown to you?
No.
Then there must have been welfare involved.
Right.
Gotta follow the money.
Judge Judy.
Tomorrow at 7 on NBC 22.
Joe, the mom, the dad, and the new guy.
She was cheating on him with me.
Stay the devil out of their hair.
Judge Joe Brown.
Tomorrow at 5 on NBC 22.
I have the greatest bunch of kids in the world. Someone may only see a handicap, but I see the heart. Small accomplishments mean so much to them.